fans? This is Nick Roloff of the Heat Report with another video, and we know that the Heat are in a bad way right now. Obviously, no Terry Rozier and Jimmy Butler for the upcoming game against the Boston Celtics, as the Heat do trail 1-0 in this first-round series after the first game went absolutely haywire. And Miami got blown out. I mean, they made a fake little comeback there, obviously. Got it down to like 13, 15 points in the fourth quarter, but they trailed as much as 34 in the final 12 minutes, so there's really never any serious thought of Miami getting a win in that game. Well, on today's video, I rewatched the game, and I looked at some film, and I have some small adjustments Miami should make, and the way at least I see it, that if Miami wants to win game 2 and even up this series before heading back to the 305, that they have to do it in order to get a win. But before we get into my keys to victory and adjustments that need to be made, hit that thumbs up icon. If you want the Heat to win game 2 on Wednesday night and even up this series at 1, hit that thumbs up button. Let's beat Boston Celtics today in likes, by the way. The goal for today's video is 200 likes. We get to 200 likes, I think we're going to pull off the win on upset fashion on Wednesday. All right, let's go into what I have to think here and what I'm seeing, because the first thing and the first adjustment that I think needs to be made is, it's going to be crazy to say this out loud, but I don't think it's necessary to double-team Jayson Tatum when he catches it in the high post. And I know this might come as to a surprise because Tatum is very, very efficient in mid-range jumpers, and he's very efficient even posting up at the high elbow, turning around and hitting that little 15, 16-foot shot. He's actually tremendous at it. And I saw Bill Simmons say to a fault that Tatum doesn't utilize that shot enough because he's so good at it, and I agree, but I'm not doubling off of it. And I think if he's going to beat you by hitting 15, 16-foot mid-range jumpers, then that's how it's going to have to be. But I'm just sick and tired of doubling him, and then him and Jaylen Brown, if you double any of them, they're just such good basketball players with such high IQ that they're easily able to pass out of the double like there's no double even coming at them. And it's either a long skip pass, one more extra pass to the corner for a wide open 3, or they just make the extra pass and then that person is open for 3. But I do believe that Miami has enough to defend the Celtics in man-to-man situations. And maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic for the players that are currently on the court for the Miami Heat. But without Jimmy and without Rozier, I still believe we have enough to put up a good defensive fight and not give up the 60 points in the first half that we did on Sunday and then get absolutely blitzed in the third quarter where they had, I think, damn near 90 points entering the final period. I do believe we can throw out a lineup in multiple combinations that can defend them straight up. And that's part of the reason why I think Kevin Love and Jovic are going to have to play such a larger role going forward in this series. The Heat started the game off having Bam on Porzingis, Jovic on really anyone. He didn't really have a specific matchup, but he would just pick up either Tatum, Brown, Holiday in transition, and whoever that may be, with Bam's primary focus finding the big body of Porzingis. I don't think that's how it should be. I think Bam needs to be one of those roaming type guys, switching on to Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White, and really limiting their opportunities, allowing Jovic, who, yes, is going to be put in a lot of pick and rolls, and the Celtics and Joe Mazzulla are going to try to target Jovic alongside Tyler Herro in switches, in pick and rolls to see how Miami defends it. But at least I'd rather have them start off on those type of players rather than having Bam on Porzingis. I think utilizing Bam Adebayo's defensive versatility against the Celtics, defending the wings and the guys that he plays against and plays with all the time in the summer, like Jaylen Brown and Tatum, is the best way to do so. And kind of round out this first adjustment that I think needs to be made. There was way too many times, and Heat fans were getting upset with Sam Hauser hitting 4 triples in the first half and having 3 straight threes that had 9 points for the Celtics to end the first quarter, begin the second quarter. Well, the reason why he was getting those is because of those long skip passes, which Miami doubled in the corner and the short corner, whether it be Brown or Tatum. They'd send 2, and then when the Heat were in their zone, Tatum or Brown would just swing it deep to the other side on the wing to Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jrue Holiday, and then they would just make the extra swing pass to the corner, and Sam Hauser was knocking them down, because the way the zone works for Miami is if you double there, right, you have two. Just think about this. It's hard to visualize, but I'll do it on my hand. Like, if the zone is a 3-2, middle, right, and left with the two guys up top, and they double two in the corner here, well, the big man rotates over to make sure the short pass here isn't available. The guy from the top doubles in, and then this guy at the other opposite elbow at the top has to rotate to the top of the key, and meanwhile, the far right baseline has to come in and watch for the high pass into the post and really just be in that rover range, which kind of makes they can't flash the elbow, right? So when they throw the long skip pass over the other side, two guys react. The top guy who is at the top of the key and the guy on the far baseline. Those two guys run to the guy who caught the swing pass, and they're either too late and the guy catches it and shoots a three, or they overreact, which allows the extra pass to the guy in the corner for a three. The zone is not able to react quick enough to get over, because what is something you've always been taught as a youngin playing basketball? The ball moves faster through the air than it does on the ground. That is something I was taught very early on how to lead and run a fast break. The pitch ahead pass goes much quicker, and you get up the floor much easier instead of dribbling and running. Like, it's just simple basketball here that it's going to be hard for them to rotate when they're skipping the pass across so easily with no hesitation, and you got five guys who are capable of knocking down three-point shots on the perimeter. So that's adjustment number one. I have a couple coming up in the second half of today's video, but we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Make sure you get started with the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, which is Prize Picks. They're giving you a first deposit match up to $100 when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS, or just go to your local app store and download the app. It's a nice little purple logo. You'll see it. It's a nice P. And then use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. They're Demons and Goblins. They're giving you free stat projections, basically, with Nikola Jokic a half a point more than or less than today. All you do is pick more or less. It's that simple. It's that easy. It's why playing daily fantasy sports is so much fun and entertaining with Prize Picks. Like I said, get started today. That link will be in the description and comments of today's video. So get started today. Prize Picks, the best. All right. Adjustment number two, and it's kind of going to piggyback off the first one of not having to double Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, because what I kind of detailed with the zone and the skip passes and stuff like that. But I also just think because Haywood Highsmith, Jaquez, Caleb Martin, like these wings, Bam Adebayo, I think they can hold their own defensively in one-on-one situations. No, they're not going to lock up the Celtics all the time because they are so talented, but I think they can give them enough trouble in man so you don't have to go to the zone, which is adjustment number two. Don't go to the zone. Nikola Jovic even said it. The zone might have worked on them last year because they had clowns running the show, Missoula's first year coaching, and Tatum, Brown weren't comfortable enough in that ball handling role. Marcus Smart was horrific. He's a good ball player. Like, don't get twisted. He's a good ball player. But he makes a lot of questionable decisions when he is the lone point guard, and he's just not the best distributor and guy who has the best court vision. But you added Jrue Holiday. Now Derek White in year two. Like, they are much more equipped team to handle a zone, especially with the guy I haven't named yet, which is Kristaps Porzingis. Nikola Jovic even admitted in the postgame that the zone was very effective against them last year. But with the adjustments and additions of Jrue Holiday and Kristaps, it's just a different beast to go and try to defend them with the zone, because they can lob it into the high post with Porzingis. He could turn around and hit a little jumper, or when he catches it in the high post, it makes the entire defense react. And we talked about that in the first half of the video. When the defense reacts, that means someone is left open, specifically in a zone. Porzingis catches it at the top. The guy who is in the middle of the zone goes out to get it, which now allows for two things to happen. It could allow for someone to go baseline and sneak behind the two guys on the baseline on the outside, because there's nobody back at the rim, because that guy had to come up to the top in the middle of that zone, which is why if you're playing zone, you're going to try to have your top two guys either disrupt that pass or get to Porzingis as soon as he catches it in that high post. But then what makes Kristaps so dangerous for Boston in this situation position is that he is so lengthy and tall, even if it's a Highsmith, a Duncan, a Caleb Martin at the top of that zone falling back to get behind Porzingis, he could just turn and fire or just wall him off and kick it out to someone at that vacated spot at the top of the zone for 3. So the zone to me is not going to work against a team like Boston that has a skilled big as Porzingis, as well as 4 guys around him that can shoot the 3 ball at all times. The Celtics, in the 4 games they've played against Miami this year, they played 3 in the regular season, 1 in the postseason. You're shooting 45% from 3 as a team. Like, they are shooting you out the gym in every single game because you go to this zone that works against other teams. But this Celtics team is so well equipped to handle a zone this year that they weren't in years prior. So, to me, you cannot play zone for more than 2% of the game. And I know that's even more than some teams play zone at all, because some don't. But as Erik Spoelstra looks to find ways to stop this Celtics team and keep them under 100 points and keep Miami in the game, the zone, to me, is not going to be a way to do it, and you're going to have to go to a man-to-man defense. So hopefully I outlined why the zone is going to have to go away in this Game 2, and really for the rest of the series. We'll see if Erik Spoelstra makes that adjustment. But if I was the head coach, which obviously I'm not, and Spo is much more well-equipped to be a head coach in the NBA. He's the best coach in all of sports, in my opinion, right now. I'll trust whatever he does, but those are just some 2 cents from me. Now, before we head out of here, I do want to go to the offensive side of the ball because, listen, it's not just defense. You scored 94 points. That's just not going to cut it, specifically when DeLon Wright goes 5 for 5 from 3, and that's just simply not going to happen in every single game. You've got a horrific offensive game from Tyler Herro. You've got a bad game from Caleb Martin. Haywood Highsmith didn't really make any shots. So the offense is going to have to get going, and the best way to do that, to me, is just rely on your best 2 players to really figure it out. And it's not me saying go out there and just say, hand him the ball, you 2 go do something. There just has to be a more developed system for the Miami Heat, and this is pretty much all on Herro to really upgrade and figure it out for him personally, because the same coverages that have been working against him over the past year and a half in big moments and big games that he wanted to be out and really prove he can be that leading guy, he struggled with in game 1. They're sending blitzes at him. They're doubling him off one dribble. They're not letting him get to that mid-range jumper, which everyone knows Tyler likes to do. Herro's got to look in the mirror. And sometimes, watching film, everyone always assumes you watch your opponent to pick up on their tendencies. How about you watch your own film and realize your own tendencies? Because if you can pick up your own tendencies and know what you like to do, well, then your opponent will see that as well, and then you can have more counter adjustments to their adjustments on you. There was a couple of times Herro was driving left, he had a step, and instead of getting to his left hand and trying to finish through contact, he tried to stop in the middle of the paint and hit that right-handed floater. And what did Boston do? They knew Tyler liked to do that, so they sat on that right. All right, sorry for the technical difficulties. My mic cut out here, and I had to restart filming. But as I was getting to the right hip thing, where they were just sitting on the right hip, and when Herro was driving left, he tried to get to his right-hand floater, and they were waiting for it, and when he went up for it, it got blocked. So to really round out the video and really get this show concluded, the point is self-scouting. And I think what the Heat can do a better job of doing, of creating more of a space for Bam and Tyler to work through. And the best way I can say that without ruining the complete spacing and just saying, listen, 3 guys go over there and then give Bam and Herro pick and roll on the right side of the floor, because that's just not realistic and it's just not going to work for not 48 minutes, right? But if you can give, maybe if you want to say spacing this way, you want to go Duncan Robinson. I know he likes to move and he's a good movement shooter, but just hear me out on this here. You get Duncan Robinson in the short corner. You get Bam and Tyler in a pick and roll, shading towards that side of the floor with whoever the other 2 guys are on the opposite side. And obviously those defenders are going to sag in towards the paint and cut off Bam on the roll. But if you can get Tyler with a good screen from Bam getting downhill very quickly, he can make the quick decision, which, listen, if you're going to win this game, you need Herro to be a good decision maker, which he was not in game 1. So that's another adjustment, but it's not an adjustment I can make. It's an adjustment Tyler's going to have to make. He's going to have to be a better decision maker. But if he can make that split-second decision, he'll have 3 options. Well, he'll really have 4 options. If he gets that step off a good screen, option 1, to the rim, giant killer layup, stop with the floater, go finish strong. 2, he can pull up in the mid-range if it's a drop coverage scenario, if Porzingis or Al Horford are falling back or something like that. Herro kills drop coverage in the mid-range, so he could read that. That's his probably number 1 option in his mind, but it's just one of 2 options for him. 3, you can drop it off to Bam in the short roll, but if they take that away, you can quickly swing it to the opposite corner if that is the defender coming over and let that play out and have an open 3. Or you can drop it off the Bam, he can do the extra pass. Like, there's options here. And then the final option is, well, if you have Duncan in that short corner and that defender in that corner shades off Duncan for 1 split second to cut off Herro's drive to the rim. And this is where Tyler needs to get better, and this is why I'm calling him out. If he notices he gets a step off that pick and roll, and that corner defender takes 1 millisecond of a step, I don't even know if that makes any sense, but if he just moves ever so slightly, quick dart pass to Duncan, because Duncan can catch it and get it out of his hands like a lightning bolt. So that is just another way that Miami can generate better looks, is maybe putting Duncan in the short corner with Herro as the pick and roll ball handler with Bam Adebayo or Kevin Love or something like that. I just think there's going to have to be a lot of creative ways Miami gets the ball to open shooters and finds open shots. Maybe Herro's just got to play better. Maybe that is just as simple as that. Makes better decisions, makes his shots from deep, and the Heat are just a much better offensive team. Maybe that's that simple. You guys let me know what's the number 1 adjustment on your guys' mind, and get in the comment section and let me know if I'm wrong, if I'm right, if I just don't know anything about basketball. You guys tell me. But either way, make sure you are subscribed, because we'll have a video again tomorrow and be live for Wednesday's game against the Boston Celtics.